Does Tom want to go into the boxing world and maybe fight a Tyson Fury, maybe fight a Deontay Wilder?
I don't know if he does, but I think if you get into that top percentage of the sport, the UFC do not pay anywhere near as much as the boxing does. And I know, being around Tom every day, that when he spars good boxers, he spars good. So I think he'd do really well against a real high-class boxer.
With Zuffa boxing under Dana White's leadership, do you think there could be an eventual crossover where you get a massive super fight that could be on a Netflix?
It doesn't depend on me, that depends on Dana White. But I think Tom has the ability, because I've seen him box at the highest level against some real good guys, that he could be at that level.
I hate Tom Aspinall because in the post-match press conference, he was going at his heavyweight champion like he absolutely did not like him.
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. And his key word there is didn't. He didn't say Tom Aspinall couldn't continue, insinuating that he's a quitter.
I don't know if it's because Andy Aspinall's saying Tom wants to go to boxing and he'd love a big payday in boxing, but that's just Andy being a manager and a dad negotiating.
I'm going to be honest, I'll give Dana the benefit of the doubt. He could have easily just misspoke. And the fact that if you do watch the YouTube that Aspinall put out, Dana White's in the locker room before wishing him all luck. I'm sure he's on good terms with Tom Aspinall and his father, because Dana White, let's be honest, if he doesn't have Tom Aspinall, he doesn't have a heavyweight division. If you saw the other heavyweight fights that were on this UFC 321 card, absolute arse.
Against the cage, Gane was sat there, not moving, not bucking, not shifting or fighting hands, sitting there like this until John locked up the guillotine on him. I'm very aware of what happened in that fight, and do I wish Tom would have finished him earlier? I do, without resistance. That was the ideal circumstance for Tom Aspinall, was to finish Ciryl Gane with no resistance in the first round. I think we see an overconfident Gane in the rematch, and I think Tom smokes him, but Tom was raging. So there's an emotional aspect to this rematch now that I'm worried about, because I've been looking for Bully Tom to make an appearance for a very long time, you guys. For a very long time, I've been waiting for Bully Tom to make an appearance. And, he made the appearance on, what the fuck you guys booing me for? He genuinely made an appearance in the post-fight speech. The fuck you guys booing me for? I got fucking double eye poked. A double eye poke landed. Insane. Crazy. Horrible result for the main event. Worst case scenario. All things come together. It's weird how MMA works, is it not? Dirtiest fighter on the heavyweight roster, Ciryl Gane, constantly cheats every single fight. He's a dirty little French cunt.
The ultimate betrayal. How the UFC is about to lose its most dangerous men. What does a man with the world at his feet do when the very people who put him on a pedestal kick it out from under him? What happens when the most dangerous heavyweight on the planet gets blinded? Not by a punch, but by the cold, hard indifference of the corporate machine he represents. This isn't just another story about a bad night at the office. This is a story about a rebellion simmering just beneath the surface of the UFC that's about to boil over. It's a story of loyalty versus money, of respect versus control, and it's being led by a man who had his vision stolen from him in the middle of the octagon, only to have his own boss imply he quit. By the end of this video, you will understand the deep systemic rot that has set into the heart of the UFC. We will expose the staggering pay gap that's driving a potential mass exodus of its biggest stars, reveal the ghost of a former champion whose escape plan is now the blueprint for the entire roster, and show you why the UFC's most prestigious division is on the verge of a complete and total collapse. This is the story of how the UFC broke its promise, and how its fighters are finally realizing they have the power to break the UFC in return.
I'm seeing it all online. Tom quit, Tom quit, Tom quit. It got dicey out there for him and he quit. That's what the people are saying. Complete hogwash, complete nonsense. If you just watch it, you will see that those were two nasty, deep eye pokes. You could say that he lost that first round. I think he lost that first round. I think we all agree that he lost that first round.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could, I mean, that is fair game. But to suggest that he quit, that he wanted a way out, that he looked for a way out because the going got tough is just something that I'm not going to subscribe to. You know John Jones is going to weigh in. This is the guy, this is the guy. For the record, John Jones was offered for the millionth time $30 million to fight this man and he didn't. You can't claim after the fact, this is the guy, but you know he's going to spike the football. And there's a cruel irony involved in the fact that Tom doesn't fight John Jones but still gets eye poked. But this is tough for him. This is the first time in his career where he's not going to be beloved by people, because people are going to accuse him of being a quitter, because they're going to say that the going got tough and he asked for a way out. I think that's absolute hogwash. He got poked in both eyes.
What led you to not sign? There was a lot of frustration over the years. I think since my fight against Stipe, my first fight against Stipe, my relation with the UFC had never been the same.
Really?
I felt like I wasn't in the right place. Then I get the Derek Lewis fight, who was like the worst fight, and that didn't hurt me at all.
You win the Cyril Gane fight. Then what happened?
I have no guarantee that signing this contract, I will not get into what I have been to in the past 3 years. So I will always change something that will make me feel secure.
And what did you want to change?
A lot of things.
The tipping point, a double eye poke, and a cold shoulder. The night of UFC 321 was supposed to be a coronation. Tom Aspinall, the supremely talented English heavyweight champion, was making his first title defense. He is the face of the new generation, fast, powerful, and charismatic. He represents everything the UFC wants in a champion. But in just over 4 minutes, that dream night turned into a nightmare. During a heated exchange, his opponent, Cyril Gane, accidentally drove his fingers deep into not one, but both of Aspinall's eyes. The fight was stopped. Aspinall, visibly distressed and in agony, told the referee in his corner the devastating truth: "I can't see." The crowd, confused and frustrated by the abrupt end, began to boo. For any fighter, this is a soul-crushing moment. Injured, unable to compete, and scorned by the very fans you bleed for. But the worst was yet to come. The true betrayal didn't happen under the bright lights of the octagon. It happened in the cold, sterile environment of the post-fight press conference. Dana White, the outspoken and powerful president of the UFC, sat before the world's media. When asked about the incident, he didn't offer sympathy or concern for his champion's health. Instead, he delivered a line that sent shockwaves through the MMA community. White stated that the situation was unfortunate, but ultimately, you can't make someone continue if they feel injured. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Only he knows that. In a few carefully chosen words, he planted a seed of doubt, subtly framing Aspinall not as a victim of a severe foul, but as someone who chose not to continue. To the fighters watching, the message was clear and terrifying. The man in charge, the promoter who is supposed to protect his athletes, would publicly question their heart in their most vulnerable moment. For Aspinall and his camp, this was the ultimate disrespect, a public betrayal that overshadowed the physical injury. His father, Andy Aspinall, a key mentor and strategist in his career, was furious, highlighting the UFC's lack of support and concern while his son was being checked in a hospital. This incident wasn't an isolated mistake, it was the tipping point, the moment a long simmering discontent among fighters found its catalyst. For years, athletes have whispered about the UFC's restrictive contracts and notoriously low pay. While boxing's top stars can command purses in the tens of millions, many UFC fighters, even champions, earn a fraction of that. This single dismissive comment from White became a symbol of a much larger problem, a corporate culture that views the fighters, the very talent the business is built on, as expendable assets rather than partners. The rebellion, following the Trailblazers' blueprint. To understand the rebellion brewing today, you have to look at the ghost of the UFC's past, Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, the Predator, was the UFC's most terrifying champion, a man with truly generational knockout power. Yet, he walked away from the organization in early 2023, vacating his heavyweight title. The reason? The exact same issues plaguing the fighters today: low pay, a lack of freedom, and a fundamental disagreement over respect. Ngannou wasn't just asking for more money, he wanted the right to pursue lucrative boxing matches and demanded better terms for all fighters, including health insurance and the presence of fighter advocates in negotiations. The UFC refused, so Ngannou bet on himself. He walked away from the biggest promotion in the world and into the unknown. The result was staggering. He secured massive paydays for boxing matches against Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, sums that dwarfed anything he ever made in the UFC. He proved that the UFC's iron grip was an illusion. He created a blueprint, a proof of concept that there was a richer, more respectful life outside the cage. Now, every disgruntled fighter has a roadmap. They see what Ngannou achieved, and the UFC's threats of obscurity and financial ruin ring hollow. This brings us back to Tom Aspinall. His father, Andy, isn't just complaining, he's strategizing. He has openly stated their plan is to see out Tom's UFC contract and then make the move to boxing, where the paydays are described as insane in comparison. This has moved Aspinall's conflict from a private grievance to a public declaration of war. This entire saga also shines a harsh light on the hypocrisy of the UFC's power structure. Dana White has built a brand around being a champion of freedom of speech, yet his history is filled with instances of punishing journalists and fighters who step out of line. He presents the UFC as a meritocracy, but the fighters see a dictatorship where loyalty is demanded but rarely given in return. The desire to leave isn't just about money, it's a desperate search for agency in a system designed to deny them any. The uncertain future, a kingdom on the brink of collapse. The timing of this rebellion couldn't be worse for the UFC because because its crown jewel, the heavyweight division, is in a state of chaos. For years, the division was ruled by legends. Now it's a house of cards. John Bones Jones, arguably the greatest fighter of all time, is the current champion, but he's semi-retired. He seems interested in only 1 or 2 more big money fights before hanging up his gloves for good, showing more interest in a super fight with Alex Pereira than a unification bout with the interim champ. With Jones on his way out, the UFC was banking on Tom Aspinall to carry the division into the future. But now, their next great hope is actively planning his escape. What's left? A division that has been described by critics as alarmingly shallow. Many of the other heavyweight fights are considered lackluster, lacking the star power to carry a pay-per-view. The division's stability hinges on a departing legend and an interim champion who feels profoundly betrayed. If Aspinall follows Ngannou out the door, the UFC's premier weight class could become irrelevant overnight. This crisis marks a fundamental shift in the balance of power. For 2 decades, the UFC was the undisputed king of combat sports. They dictated the terms, the pay, and the narrative. Leaving the UFC was considered career suicide. But now the fighters are realizing a simple truth. They are the product. They are the talent that fills the arenas and sells the pay-per-views. The UFC needs them far more than they need the UFC. This leaves us with the ultimate cliffhanger, an unresolved question that could reshape the entire landscape of fighting. What will Tom Aspinall do? Will he stay, hoping to fight for change from within a system that has shown him nothing but contempt? Or will he take the path forged by Francis Ngannou, lead a new wave of talent out the door, and in doing so, bring a multi-billion-dollar empire to its knees? The future of combat sports may very well hang on his decision.
It'd be cool to fight over the heavyweight championship, but I would also willingly give up the heavyweight championship. I walked away from the light heavyweight championship, and I'd love to walk away from this one as well, on top, on his own terms, good head and shoulder, making lots of money. I love the position that I'm in right now. Fighting Pereira for the Banff belt, that'd be cool. We both have 2 belts in 2 weight classes. The night we fought, we'd be both fighting for our 3rd belt, which would be the Banff. How cool would that be? You heard it here first. I haven't had this conversation with any other